I'm recording in a hotel again, this time in downtown Ottawa. I have a cold now, and it is cold outside, so I'm not quite sure how this whole trip of spending outside for New Year's Eve weekend is going to turn out. But I'm crazy like that. Call me a Canadian girl. This is Flying for Flavor. So obviously my head cold is starting to get to me because I actually had a lot of this episode recorded in the car on the way here. But my brain wasn't obviously functioning, or the Advil hadn't kicked in. So I was wondering why, when I got to the hotel here and was just going to do final edits, that most of the recording sounded tinny and far away. And then I realized that my Bluetooth probably kicked in. So it was actually recording me through my car's speakers. So I didn't have to put you through that. I thought, you know what? Advil is kicked in now. I'm at the hotel. I've had lunch. Now is a great time for me to sort of catch up. So I'm looking out, of course, over the Parliament buildings and stuff outside. It is so cold here. I heard on the radio that this is actually I read it about someplace, the nation's capital here in Canada is the coldest capital city on earth this weekend. Isn't that crazy? I mean, I know we're used to cold weather, but man, it's cold. So if you were following along on upcoming episode mentions on the website or in the newsletter, if you subscribe to our Flying for Flavor newsletter, this was supposed to be 3-4 days of me taping with friends, staying out of lodge. But with my cold and this weather, we just decided to cut it down to 3 quick days. So we just arrived today and we're heading back first thing Monday morning. But somehow they've managed to convince me to still tackle Le Nordique, which is an outdoor Scandinavian spa, for the next 2 days. So wish me luck. Anyway, just to finish this New Year's episode, while I still have a voice, I thought what I wanted to convey is kind of a quick summary of my highlights of food, wine, and travel in 2017, and then give you a preview of what's coming up in 2018. So this last year, if I think about food stuff, I would have to say one of my highlights is the creation and implementation of my Sudbury Secret Foodies program that I started this past summer. And mostly it started because I've been reviewing restaurants and hotels on my website now for a few years, but I've always vowed not to review anything in my home city, mostly because I have either worked with or know or are friends with most of the people who work in the restaurants in the city, and I doubted very much that could be objective. But I also know from talking to those same people how it is discomforting and frustrating for them when the only reviews that they seem to get either on Facebook or Yelp or any of those other review sites, either it's a 5-star great thing and it's just a tourist passing through, or it is a 1-star review or something because they've had one bad experience. And again, it's usually tourists. So I thought, how do I get locals to start offering their opinions anonymously so they can be free with their comments and ratings? Because we don't really have anything with a media spin on it. Like, we don't have a newspaper that actually does these kind of unbiased rating systems for restaurants. There's no one really featuring restaurants or tourism specifically in any of our publications locally. So I thought, let me create some kind of a group and see if I can get enough together. So it actually took off better than I thought. So I have a Sudbury Secret Foodies Facebook page. You may have heard me mention it before, especially if you're not from Sudbury. Just to give you a quick synopsis, I have about a little over 100 anonymous local diners who basically just send me surveys after they've dined out in the Sudbury area. And I log all the information. Only positive comments, feedback, or anything else is posted on the Facebook page that anyone can follow. And then the actual raw data is tabulated, and starting in 2018, I should have enough data to be able to provide in-depth reports for each of the restaurants about how their restaurant fared since the Little Club's inception, just to give them some ideas and tips on what they're doing well, what people are liking, what they're not, give them some ideas for menu changes, pricing, staffing, etc. So I'm really hoping that this actually takes off even further. And I've always encouraged, or if you know of anyone who would like to start something like this in your own town or community, I'm happy to share the concept. Just send me a quick email or message me through any of the social media pages, and I'm happy to try to arrange and talk you through how I set it up going forward. So it's been a lot of fun for that last part of the year. When it comes to wine, I would say my highlight was New Zealand and Australia. I got to go to some of the more famous wine regions in those countries this past spring, and I have to admit that I left there a bigger fan than I went. The wines that we get here in North America I find that they are very generic. They are made specifically either for export to these countries because of what kind of wines we tend to buy. They're better, commercially viable ones. But when I really got to sort of sample and explore the areas a little bit more, they have some spectacular stuff. So I try to keep in touch with some winemakers out there. One of my wine tour guide from when I was out there, and he'll be coming up on feature episode here in 2018, just to give you an overview of wines from the southern part of Australia, because I know that you're all just dying to learn more about it. And then for travel, I would say I was really impressed with, as much as I went to Australia and New Zealand, I loved the fact that I got to spend more time down in the States, even though there was so much in the media about travel bans and scary stuff all since the beginning of 2017. Not once in an airport, airline, hotel, anywhere did I see or experience any hiccups, delays, protests, or anything. And a lot of times I heard afterwards that we just missed the chaos. But always they were happy to see visitors coming in, and I've always encouraged other Canadians that turn off the TV maybe once in a while, just enough to keep an open mind. I would spend time in LA and New York, and of course Tennessee, with some time in North Carolina on the way down. And I do plan to head back to LA and New York for sure, and possibly other areas of California next year. And I may just squeeze in Chicago. I'm thinking maybe later in the spring. So I bet you're curious what's coming up in 2018. I have a lot planned, and I'm going to use it as my resolution not to be specific, but basically just to push through and create new experiences and new content that I can keep going on an ongoing basis. And I'm going to share in some of the fun, and I'll tell you a little about that later. But in the meantime, let's use the same format that we used for 2017, and let's talk about food, wine, and travel for 2018. So for food, I have taken my catering kitchen and have basically converted it into a video production studio. Keep seeing a lot of videos being circulated on social media with a close-up demos of specific recipes, and everyone keeps asking me for them. So I've decided to buckle down and learn how to do it. So I'm actually taking some online classes for audio editing and sound recording, sound engineering, and video production, because I'm a bit of a nerd like that and I want to learn to do it properly. But in the meantime, you'll see the first few will be a little bit rough, me playing around with my iMovie app on my MacBook. And then eventually I want to get into my Adobe products and start learning how to use those more specifically to get to do some really crazy stuff. So I've got all the proper lighting and overhead camera arms and all that kind of stuff. So I'm ready to go equipment-wise, but I just needed to get the hang of doing these video things. And my husband's kind of happy with the way things are going too. He even bought me a brand new set of Le Creuset pots and pans. For my demos and for my kitchen, because I've been fighting with the same old ones for the longest time, and I thought that anyone who's watching gets to see pretty pots and pans. I guess it's just me, and not to mention I love those that brand in particular. So I've got everything ready to go, and I've already started one. You'll get to see those on a blog post possibly in the next few days. They'll be mostly featured in the blog posts and on the Facebook page. So you can find that, of course, the Flying for Flavor Facebook page. But more often than not, I'll probably have it also mirrored on my Stephanie Piche Facebook page as well. So I'm going to be doing those, and I'm actually going to be doing a little bit more blogging when it comes to recipes. I really want to focus on ingredients that people may be afraid to try or that wanted to learn more about or how to cook with them. So I will have more instructions as opposed to just a standard recipe. And they are very going to be travel themed or cultural themed, meaning that I want to do, the very first one as an example is a Greek roast lamb. I wanted to talk a little bit about the main flavors that are found in Greek dishes, but then also use something like a butterflied roast leg of lamb and find an easy recipe for it for those who have always wanted to try cooking lamb at home and have always been scared to. Slow cooking or braising something like a leg of lamb is actually an easy way to do that. And the strong acidic flavors in the this particular recipe is a good way to sort of introduce you to something like lamb that may be a little bit gamey for your palate if you're not used to it. So it's I'm going to be doing more and more of those going forward on the blog section of the website. Now for wine, which is exciting, I've been asked quite a bit about classes. When I do my wine classes publicly, I only have them once or twice a month for my schedule. A lot of times it's only because I can only get so many people signed up for certain days of the week, and I have to get special occasion permits through the LCBO, and there's all kinds of stuff. So the easiest thing for me to do now is to teach online. So I'm actually incorporating 2 online classes through Facebook Live starting in February. Now it's going to be paid access only, but I am giving it at a reduced rate of $25. It'll be exactly the same format as any of my other classes, featuring 5 wines. You'll get recipes, shopping lists, everything well ahead of time so that you can basically have your own little tasting party at home with me on your TV screen or your Facebook screen, or if you know how to mirror through Apple TV or something, it'll be fun. But it'll be interactive. I'll have somebody there to shield any questions as I go through the class, but you can invite friends over to share those 5 bottles of wine if you wish, or you can actually just sit through the class and then host your own tasting with your friends at another date. So that'll be coming up in February. You'll find the links to the new wine classes on the show notes, or if you have subscribed to my newsletter, the links and stuff will be in the newsletter, which is coming out, of course, on January 1st. Now, as for travel, I'm hoping this cold goes away soon, because as soon as I get back, I've got about 3 days to pack, and Norm and I are heading to Portugal and Spain. Basically, it's a fast week through the southern part of the areas. I chose one particular city and area in the southern part of Spain that I hadn't visited yet. It's the city called Huelva. It is mostly known as, it's a very old city, and it's mostly known for having the port where Christopher Columbus would depart for his travels from Spain. So there's supposed to be a lot of history in that area, and there's a big statue of him on this pier, and it's going to be very beautiful. So I'm going to start off our week with a few days there. Some of the restaurants that are, of course, down in that area are won high awards. I mean, actually won lists on best restaurants of the world, and I'm very excited. We're going to eat well, of course, for those 3 days. I'm packing a lot of baggy clothes. And then we're going to hop in the car and then head over to Portugal for some R&R. It's one of the things I love about Portuguese lifestyle. It is laid back. It is not very frantic. It's even more laid back than Spain. The people are so friendly. Nobody's ever in a hurry for anything. And we're going to be staying in the town of Vilamoura, which is, I would say, 15 minutes west of Faro on the Albufeira area. So it is like a Gulf marina type area. There's a lot of little golf resorts nearby, and I've rented a suite with a full kitchen that's close to the water so that I can basically go and find a local market, or go and find, like we did last time, go to a grocery store, buy a €2 bottle of wine and pick up fresh shrimp and stuff from the seafood counter, some garlic butter, and then go park myself on a balcony overlooking the ocean. That is a holiday. So I'm looking forward to that. We are going to be heading to a few places in the States, of course, as I mentioned this year. And I have a funny feeling that Norm's going to try squeezing in another overseas trip coming up in the new year for sure. So the last thing I want to talk about today is the new format for this podcast starting in January. I wanted to switch it up a little bit, and instead of talking to myself, the entire time, which is not always fun, especially when I'm sampling wines and food. I thought it would be much more fun to have an ongoing set of guests. So I was originally going to kind of mix up guests here and there. And then I thought, you know what? It would be kind of fun if it's sort of like a family affair. Family meaning my family of friends. And I managed to find 3 people who are crazy enough to come and tape with me every week. And it'll be starting in January. So look for their brief bios on the contributors page on the website. And there'll be more information in the Flying for Flavor newsletter going out January 1st, as well as there'll be other profiles and stuff. And you'll get to meet them if you follow us on Facebook on the Flying for Flavor page. We're going to broadcast the first episode as a team, taping live on Facebook next Thursday. So it'll be a lot of fun. It'll be the first one of the season. So there'll be some toasting and bubbles and treats. And I think it'll be a fun way to sort of kick off the season. So that'll be next Thursday. And I'm just checking my calendar just to double check on what time we agreed on. Because now that we're a team, we are going to be starting at 5 p.m. That's 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So for those of you who want to catch us live, I'll send out little reminders and that kind of thing on the Facebook page and other social media channels. But if you want to just follow the Flying for Facebook page, you'll be able to catch it there. Going forward, we may have some other Facebook Live events, but then we will occasionally just take videos and upload them to the Flying for Flavor YouTube channel, because we're going to set up the studio with a big television to bring in Skype calls, that kind of thing, with special guests from all over the world. So it should be a lot of fun. So I bet you're wondering who's coming on with me. So pardon my cold again, because I said I'm taping this in bits and pieces while I struggled to sort of get through a lot of these notes that I wanted to share with you. So you've met Cynthia, or you've listened to Cynthia. She was my guest on the sparkling wine episode, as well as 1 or 2 other episodes prior to that. She's not only our ongoing wedding and event planner here at Flying for Flavor, but she also has a background in restaurant management, and living in Australia for a bit, she's traveled quite a bit and brings that kind of Aussie relaxed flair, and I think it'll be a lot of fun. And then Stacy is a travel agent friend of mine who also has a background in wine sales and is a spectacular, I want to call her a cake artist, because baker just doesn't seem the same. She does a lot of wedding cakes and stuff for family and friends, and she does sugar art and all that kind of fun stuff. So she's got a very wide-ranging background in food, wine, and travel, so she was a perfect fit. And then because we didn't want it to turn into just a hen party, we did invite our friend Deke to join us. We joked around about how he's going to have a fun time with us 3 girls for sure. And Deke comes from a background of Palestinian chefs. And so he started creating this recipe handed down from generations, and he now sells this Palestinian style traditional hummus that he's actually started manufacturing here in Sudbury, Ontario. And it's not only in all the grocery stores in Sudbury, but he's actually working on getting them in stores province-wide and beyond is the plan. So he'll probably do a little bit more introduction and talking about his products at that first episode next Thursday, January 4th. So make sure you check that out so that you can kind of meet the crew going forward. So it'll be a lot of fun. So I'm actually looking at the Parliament buildings right now from my suite at the Andaz in downtown Ottawa. It's a lovely view. It's sunny and bright, but deceiving because, man, it's cold. So I am going to try tackling Le Nordique for a couple of days in the next little while. So wish me luck with my cold. I'm planning to put a hat on my head and bundle up with my robe in between, but I figure all those Scandinavians have gone in and out of hot pools and cold air for so many centuries, and they all seem to be so healthy. So maybe this will actually cure what ails me. So hopefully you're all having a wonderful and safe holiday season, and I promise that my cold will be gone for next Thursday so we can get back into the swing of things and kick 2018 off without a hitch. So happy New Year. there. And don't forget, this is the year. Ditch those resolutions. I just want you to try one new thing, whether that's a new food you want to try, a new wine or alcohol that you've always wanted to learn a little bit more about, or try a new place to visit. So if you want to share with any of our listeners about what you're planning to try for the first time this coming season, feel free to post on any of our social media things and just use the hashtag #OneNewThing. Until next week, Happy New Year.